Yeah, hi there. This is the third part of the internal PEN meetings. Today, we're going to cover personal branding. Now, let me take you back to my own life and my experience. So when I was running a show for business, when we sold it in 2014, and I built that business from scratch, and you guys already know this, to a team of 25 people. When I sold the business, I realized in literally a couple of months' time that the only people who knew me was people in that industry. And besides that, so outside of that industry, just literally no one knew me professionally. I never worked on my LinkedIn profile. I never worked on any of the social channels or online channels, nothing at all. So when I went on to do consulting, I really initially struggled with it because just no one knew me. No one was, obviously with humility, I'm saying that, just no one knew if I could help them in any way possible. So the learning from that part of my life was that personal branding makes a plays a major part in what you do now and in later stage. I'll give you an example. Let's say you are in property business now, you build a portfolio of 5, 10, 20, 30 properties, and now you want to invest in something else, okay? Either in a business or whatever that might be. If you haven't worked on your personal brand, you could go to another industry and try and persuade someone to let you take a pie of a share of their business. But because they don't know who you are and what you can do for them, why would they give it to you? Does that show you a long-term picture? Most people do not think beyond a year or two in the first place. I was actually forced by my circumstances to start thinking beyond where I am now because I struggled with it. I ran a chauffeur business for 12 years. 12 years later, I'm looking back and thinking, well, the only people who know me in this industry is people that I serve and people that I deal with on a daily basis. And that's all. And that was not many people. I can assure you that. Okay. There was literally, I could count on my fingers about 120, 130 people. Okay. And I was not going to get much business out of them going forward. So I had to start creating a much bigger network as well as my personal brand. Okay. So does that give you a bigger picture in terms of you could be looking at 5 years down the line, created a portfolio for yourself that's paying you, but now maybe you want to invest into something else. And now you go arrange a meeting with someone else, you want to buy their business out, and they don't know you. They know nothing about you. You've not worked on your LinkedIn profile, or you've not done any of your personal website or your all digital platforms that you have available, and the rest of it. There's loads of other things that I'm going to share in the session with you guys. But can you see that they will not be persuaded? It will be difficult to persuade them if you haven't built a strong personal brand. The likes of, if you look at the strongest personal brands in the world, the likes of Rock, Dwayne Johnson, if you look at his social channels, they are smashing, right? So he's not just working on being the best paid actor on the planet, he's working on very strongly on his social profile as well as his personal brand, which is correlated obviously to get more ads. So for example, he obviously gets paid for promoting other people's products, right? Again, that's personal branding. Yes, I'm talking about celebrity level, but then if you talk about business level, we have the likes of Grant Cardone and Gary Vee and Ty Lopez and so on and so forth. If you look at their personal brands, they are just mainly focused on personal brands, in fact. Okay. If you look at their companies, they might have multiple companies, but the main focus is purely personal brand. Have you observed that? Just say yes, no, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, guys. Okay. So let's say if Grant Cardone was looking to buy a portfolio or was looking to purchase a business at this moment of time with a strong personal brand, do you think he has the persuasive power before he even calls them?
Of course.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And once he picks up the phone, they're going to start thinking that's Grant Cardone, right? And the person he's buying the company from or the shares of the business from, they're going to believe he's going to bring a lot of value in. And that value comes from personal brand and nothing else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Good stuff. But now the question sits at, how do you create a strong personal brand? And how strong can it actually get? As strong as you like. That's the answer. But where do you start? The starting point is your social channels, guys. People, when they talk with you, let's say you talk with someone, you're pitching them a property, or you're pitching them for some investment, or whatever it is that you are selling in your business at this stage. The first thing they're going to do after your call, and you're going to observe this, is they're going to check your LinkedIn and Facebook profiles. Okay. In fact, I see this all day long. I jump on a call with someone, 5-10 minutes later, I put the phone down and off I go, a message saying this person has checked your LinkedIn profile. And this is a regular thing. If I speak with 10 people, about 5 of them at least check my LinkedIn or Facebook profile. Okay. So, and then you get notifications from LinkedIn and sometimes from Facebook as well. I don't know if Facebook does that anymore or not, but they used to, I know, back in the days. Okay. But it's essential that you create strong LinkedIn profiles and keep them updated. I have not updated my LinkedIn profile for a year now. It's time that I need to update it again, but it still is a very, very strong profile on LinkedIn as well as on Facebook. Okay. As well as if you look at the reason I'm saying me, it's not about me, it's about you guys. I'm just giving you an example on me, that's all. Okay. So if you were to go and check my personal website, it was updated only about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So go and check that. But you do need a very, very strong personal profile to start with. And you really want to sit down and think very, very creatively to how you're going to attract more people towards you through your writing on your profile. Does that make sense? If any of you needs help with your profile writing, first write it down, send me an email, and I'll go through it for you. Okay? Go ahead, Justin.
Jack, a question. When you say profile writing, are you talking about your, like, for example, let's take LinkedIn profile. So the headline about yourself and then so on and so forth, or are you talking about the content that goes onto your profile?
All of it. All of it. All of it. So you gotta have a very compelling tagline, which is your header or your introduction, and then a very good description about you, as well as articles on LinkedIn. They play a key part. Some people who really want to check on you, who really want to do business with you, they'll go and check the articles you've written on LinkedIn. Okay. As well as on Facebook, when you create your page, for example, we have a company page as well as a group, as a personal page, and then we have a personal group as well as a company group as well. In the page, not just that you write about yourself on Facebook, it actually gives you another section which is about your story. So you write in the description about you, but then it gives you another space to write your story. So you can actually write about your story of your life and from where did you start and where you are now in the journey. Okay. But you got to be very, very creative in terms of writing. Like I said, I'll help you out in the process when you start writing it down. Okay. Now that's the first step when it comes to creating your personal brand. Okay. The next step is the touch points. And this is something that I've, mentioned many, many times, and the marketing channels that you use. Now, at the moment, if you look at the team, we have Harry absolutely smashing it. He's creating more content than most of us combined, in fact, which is a good thing. He's very, very young. He's doing it. But you do have to control yourself because Facebook is very, very funny. Facebook can actually block you, and it actually happened with someone in our group, as well as I've been restricted for using it over the limit. I was never blocked, but I was restricted for a few weeks, a few times, in fact. But so you're gonna have to limit and balance between LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and so on and so forth. In fact, TikTok is another great platform that's upcoming, and I've been thinking of using it. So I definitely recommend you guys to use all of the social channels that are very, very active especially in the Western world and in UK. And it's just about creating those profiles. Okay.
Sorry, Jack,
Yeah.
just to interrupt on that Harry situation, because this is something I tend to have questions at times. So, for example, as you, like probably with Harry or probably a situation like myself, we are very much like, beginning in property journey in terms of adding value to the people, and in terms of contributing to people's opinion. So, for example, I want to kind of, sometimes I think of posting things to the Facebook group, but sometimes I think I'm not really adding any value to the people. I'm just posting generic, things. So I'm not sure if that's right to do that. If in case you're not adding value in a long term, then people will think, oh, we're not getting anything out from this group. So I'm not sure what I can really do to people think to stay in the group for long.
I'll share with you what to do, Geeta. Let's say you started your day and you faced a challenge. Let's say you picked up the phone, you were trying to get a deal done and you couldn't do it. Okay. And at the end of the call, reflect back on what you could have improved on that call. Are you with me?
Yeah.
The next call you make that improvement and see if you got a better result.
Mm-hmm.
That is your content. The next time when you write something, you write based on that reflection and improvement of what you faced in that day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. But on the other hand, I feel like if I put something which is like, pretending or not pretending, which is showing my weakness, people will think, oh, how can she be accountable to create a group and network with people when she herself is not experienced?
No, you can. In fact, when you open up to people about your vulnerability, okay, you'll attract more people. Okay. So when I go on social media, in fact, if you were to go back, I've actually made videos on things that I found really, really challenging. Okay. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have engaged with that. People want to see a human, okay, not a perfect machine. Okay. People really, really connect with humans. Remember, you're talking with people and not a machine. Everyone makes mistakes. I do pretty much every day. Okay. But it's about what did you learn from that mistake or the learning curve? And how did you improve that? And what result did you get? Are you with me?
Sure.
Okay. From that, you generate content. I'll give you another example, which I was giving to Jason the other day. Let's say we are playing with our kids, okay? And our kids sometimes they'll turn up with either something very naughty or something very creative, okay? Kids can think of all the creative stuff to persuade you to play with them, to buy you stuff, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's your content, okay? What is it that your kid did last time that helped them to believe in you or to basically do what they wanted you to do, okay? Or in fact, let's say for you, it could be your husband. Maybe your husband wanted you to make some food. What trick did he use on you to spend more time in the kitchen? That's a trick that gets used in business, and that becomes a touch point and a content creation.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to be creative. Remember, people want to connect with humans and not machines, okay? You are not perfect. Don't try to act like one,
mm-hmm.
okay? But another thing that you got to bear in mind is other people's opinion, they don't need to matter to you, okay? That's their opinion. Don't get affected by that, okay? Just because someone says something does not mean it applies to you,
mm-hmm.
okay? You just have to have that self-awareness. If someone is actually criticizing you in a genuine way, or are they just practically trying to drag you down? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, you're going to come across as more of latter than prior ones. So you'll find more people trying to drag you down by criticizing rather than genuine criticism.
Yeah.
Okay? So don't hesitate. Okay. One more thing to continue from that, Geeta, is that when it comes to touch points and marketing channels and content generation, close your eyes, create content for 10 years, and this is something I learned from Gary Vee, create content without any expectations for at least 10 years and then look back. So don't judge yourself either for at least 10 years.
Sure. But you know what happened with me when I tried to, there was a situation in the group and somebody tried to ask something and somebody jumped into the group to answer to all those questions. And apparently everybody tend to kind of, think, okay, he's the person who's adding value to the group. And then I realized the same people were speaking directly in his group then, so it just seems like, a little bit of like, let down on yourself. Okay, you have created a group, you have network of people, but you're not able to answer to their questions.
No, you can't have.
But somebody else is leading and taking those people to his group,
That's okay, Geeta. I'll tell you what happens, okay? Now, you're going to learn this over a period of time, okay? Just because you've created a group does not mean that you own anyone, okay? You cannot control all of this. It's a public group, okay? You're going to come across people who are way more experienced than you are, okay? You don't need to compare yourself to all of them. You don't need to feel anything about them taking the business, not you being able to take the business, okay? Another thing behind that is that you start creating private groups, which is what I do. I have a private investors group, okay, where I only add serious investors, and that group I can only control again to some extent. Most of the people in that, my investors group, my private group, most of them are way more experienced than I am, okay? I'm talking about people who have multi-million pound portfolios. In fact, one of them has 700 plus properties, okay? Now, just because he's in my group and just because he's a lot more experienced than me does not mean I own. It's all about helping him leverage the group and your group, if you know what I mean. So learn to leverage their skills to your advantage, to your company advantage, okay? Now, I'll give you an example. We had John the other day come to our event to speak, right? Now, John is a lot more experienced than I am, okay? But did we use and created a win-win situation for him as well as us by inviting him to our event? Yes, no?
Yeah.
That's what you got to do. You got to learn creatively to do collaborations with people who are more experienced than you are and leverage their expertise and their experience to your advantage. And then obviously that does not mean that you use and abuse, but it create a win-win situation. Okay. Does that make sense? Now, even in the reps group, I'll give you an example on the reps group. Okay. We have Jassim with his skills. Okay. Do you think I undercut him? No. In fact, I helped him leverage his business. Okay. And then we have Seti. He manages 300 properties. Do you think he's more experienced in some aspects than me or not?
Yeah.
Yes, he is. But I'm helping him leverage his business as well as my business. Okay. And that applies to, in fact, Ravi and Sudhir, for example, right? They are a lot more experienced in some aspects of the property than me. And what am I doing? I'm using that, not using as in the sense using, but creating a win-win situation for everyone to leverage by collaborations. Does that make sense? So when I come across someone who's a lot more stronger than me, someone who's a lot more experienced than I am, I think in a creative way to do a collaboration where it's a win-win situation for everyone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Shailendra in the group, he's an architect. What do I know about being an architect? Nothing. Okay. Helping leverage his business as well as our business in a creative way. Okay. And that's what you got to do in your business long term. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay. So touching from the points of creating touch points and marketing channels, there is just never enough touch points and never enough marketing channels, guys. Okay. You need to be everywhere. The word is ubiquitous, right? I love this word. It's basically it means being everywhere, right? Being omnipresent. Okay. I think it's only God who can be omnipresent, but you know what I'm trying to say at the core is being present everywhere. If you want to attract the right kind of investors, if you want to attract the right kind of people to bring you deals, if you want to attract the right kind of professionals in the property industry, you gotta be everywhere as much as possible. Okay. Create podcasts. Jassim and me, we were setting up a PE and podcast. You know, the Apple one is approved, the iPhone is one is approved. We are waiting for the Google one, and there's about 10 different podcasts set up for PEN, for example. Okay, there is obviously Facebook, multiple groups. There is LinkedIn, multiple groups, and so on and so forth. Just an example for you on how many touch points we are creating in the business. Does that make sense? Okay, multiple touch points to. So let's say if your focus is just purely building your portfolio. Okay, what do you need? You need investors, you need property deals, you need builders, you need architects, accountants, solicitors, and so on and so forth, electricians, plumbers, you know, surveyors, consultants, program management guys, so on and so forth, right? The only way you're going to attract all of that is through multiple touch points and conveying very, very clearly to everyone what is it that you're trying to achieve. Okay. In fact, if I went online now and I asked a question to everyone on my online channels to what do you think I actually do, you'll be surprised after that many years, people still will not be sure. Okay. Because people live in their own world, not in your world. You keep have to drumming in on what is it that you do and how you can create that synergy through your social channels. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Daryl, if you have any questions, just let us know, okay? I'm not sure if you can hear us. Yeah. Let us know if you have any questions, okay? But multiple touch points, multiple channels, and conveying very, very clearly what is it that you're trying to achieve, and then attracting people through your stories into your world to help you achieve that. Does that make sense? Your personal brand sits on your story. So the main foundation of your personal brand is your story. So for example, when you see me speaking, when I'm touching on the personal brand or something on that aspect, I always share my story of how I started, how I came as an immigrant 20 years ago, how I struggled to a point where I didn't have enough money, how I got to a point where I started building the business, how I sold one business, and then actually, in fact, I built another business which was sold as well. I sold 2 businesses, and then I built onto that I was investing passively in property, and we built a tech platform. We started building a tech platform. Can you see that everything at the foundation is built on a story?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You gotta sit down and write this story, guys. I've actually written the story in my last book that I wrote, which is on Amazon at the moment on Kindle, right? But I've actually sat down and wrote the story of who you are, what is it that you do, what is it that you're aspiring to achieve, and how is it that creatively you can create those collaborations, touch points, marketing channels, everything is creatively written down to do all that. And then from that point onwards, you start writing your step-by-step to-do lists. Guys, you're writing in chat. I am not reading that chat at the moment. So let me know if you have any questions. I will answer them for you. Any questions so far to what I've covered?
No.
Good stuff, guys. You really need to sit down and write your story. Okay, that story could start from as young as when you were 5 years old, all the way up till now, and then leading forward, leading from that even to what is it that you aspire to do. It could be as simple as I want to sort of inspire 1,000 people this year to start their own journey. Okay, just pure, no expectations, purely serving people out there, helping people out there. Okay, or for example, I am aspiring to start a charity on PEN. Okay, that's my aspiration. Okay, write it down. Everything is a pixel in the picture of your story, which is your personal brand. Okay, people want to know you as a person of who you are and who do you want to be. Okay, let's say you write something that you want to be, and let's say you a serious investor, someone who's got 500 properties, comes across your article or something that you write, and then he reads that, something connects, and he says, you know what, this is the kind of guy I want to maybe mentor. Don't be surprised that you get a message from him saying, you know what, I've got £100 million portfolio. I was looking for one person to mentor. Would you like me to mentor you? Don't be surprised at that. It happens all the time, okay? But that's only going to happen when you start to create your personal brand, and the foundation is a very, very strong story. If you look at the format of my life story, it's more like an underdog story, okay? I was always the underdog. I was always the one that just was never expected to achieve anything, okay? And then you got to build from that. But then you can always look at your story in terms of antagonist, protagonist. Guys, do you know the basics of a story? You watch a movie, you have the negative character, which is the protagonist, antagonist, and then you have the positive character, which is the protagonist. And then there's always this, kind of tension between the two. And then from that, the story is more interesting. The more tension, the more interesting the story. Does that make sense? So the foundation is story. The story format is always the antagonist and the protagonist, which is the more tension there is. So in your case, it could be as simple as the antagonist could be your thoughts in your mind, which say, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know how I will do it. Am I even capable? Am I even worth it? That could be your antagonist. And protagonist could be you saying, no, I can do it. Just your thoughts. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or it could be as simple as, other people around you dragging you down. And that happens all the time. We get dragged down by family members, by relatives, friends. It just happens all the time. It can be a combination of all of it as well. Does that make sense? Okay. Just some hints for you, Jassim, when you're writing your book in story format. Okay. Because that is going to create your personal brand. Okay. Good stuff. Any questions so far?
No.
Good stuff. And from that point, there is the book writing, which is key. If you look at the journey of Donald Trump, okay, how many books do you think Donald Trump has written? In fact, I don't know, but I know he's written a few. Do you know how many books he's written?
Maybe 10.
I don't know the exact figure, but I've read 2. Okay. I'm sure he's written more. But if you look at Michelle Obama, yeah, if you follow her journey, she is planning to be the next president. She wrote a book and she is really campaigning heavily. Does that make sense? Okay. But at the moment, she's really, really focused on creating a personal brand so she could be the next president, or probably just, be one of the contenders. Okay. That's personal brand playing the part. Okay. Now, regardless of what stage of your life you are at, you want to get to a point where you start writing a book. Okay. In story format, on your experience and expertise. And if you don't have as much experience as yet, hold on. You will write one maybe in a few months, maybe a couple of years' time. Okay. Because writing a book is key to your personal brand. Okay. Writing a book does not take forever. I wrote mine in 7 days. Okay. And that was 30,
How many
000,
pages?
That was 30,000 words. I think it was 170 pages.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So that's one of the steps that you need to get to, but I'll cover some of that later. Okay. Another aspect that you need to be aware of is credibility, and that's social credibility. Okay. Now I'll give you an example. You see these people when they are speaking. Let's say someone is booked to speak at an event. Okay. And they write on their profile saying, I'm speaking besides the likes of Grant Cardone or Gary Vee. They're trying to build on the social equity that those guys have. Okay. There are times when people actually do events with the likes of, in fact, there was a guy, I can't remember his name. he did an event with Sir Alan Sugar. Okay. Event that was created with Alan Sugar. He must have paid loads of money to Alan Sugar. He must have broken even or even lost money just because he did an event with Alan Sugar. So he could write on his profile that he spoke besides, or he invited Sir Alan Sugar to his event. Does that make sense? Okay. That is a very, very strong personal brand building. Okay. You go on someone's website and they're taking a picture with the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger or any celebrity that they worked with. In fact, do you think that they normally charge providing celebrities services? No, they don't. In fact, they pay celebrities money so that they could take pictures, they could provide services to them, and then in fact they pay a lot more money to these guys so that they could prove that they've done that. Okay. Yeah. That's building your social equity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. If you saw me taking a picture or working with the likes of, let's say, Grant Cardone, the next thing you're going to think is, well, this guy is big. Okay. That's a perception that's created to attract more investors towards you. Does that make sense? Okay. You take a picture with the likes of Donald Trump and you said, you know, I had a business meeting with Donald Trump. Guess what is it that they're trying to do? They're building more social credibility, social equity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. From that point onwards, you lead to your social engagement. Okay. Now, social engagement, what do I mean by that? If you observe Harry, for example, or if you observe other people, some people just have a lot more social engagement than others. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm not one of the best ones when it comes to engagement. Yes, people who engage with me, but there are times when not a lot of people engage with me, and that's just me, maybe something about me that needs to maybe improve. Okay. But social engagement is very, very much the key. Okay. But how do you get more engagement? Okay. Geeta, I think you were pointing some of the questions that you were asking earlier, I think were based on social engagement as well. Okay. First of all, social engagement, you're not going to get in a day. Okay. It takes a consistent period of time of content creation to get that engagement and leading to a point where you actually start to attract more serious investors. Okay. But you get people to open up when you actually show your human side and ask open questions. Okay. If you go and tell someone something, they don't have a reason to engage with you. You're telling them something. But when you ask an open question based on what, when, why, how, you're giving them a reason to engage with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes I would go and write something on our group and all of a sudden there is 40, 50 people commenting. Okay. And there are times when I'm, for example, when I write, motivational quotes or inspirational quotes, the only thing people do is like, they don't engage with it, do they? Because it's a quote. I'm telling them something, they don't need to engage. But when I ask a question, if that question strikes a chord, that's when they'll engage with you. Okay. Remember, people really want to engage with a human. If you're showing perfection all the time, you'll be surprised that not enough people will engage with you. Okay. It's when you show your vulnerable side as well as your real side in, taking pictures with your families. I put all my family pictures. Okay. Not all, but some of them, sorry. I show my human side as much as I can. I come and share my challenges. I come and share my triumphs where I'm winning. What is it that I did that went well? What is it that I did that didn't quite go right? And what did I learn from that? Okay. So your social engagement plays a major part, because when people start commenting on your post, the people that they are connected with will see your post. Okay. And they will start connecting with you. So it's not about how many likes and follows you get, but it's how many people comment on your post, and out of those, how many more connect with you. That leads to you connecting with them and nurturing those relationships to lead to a point where they do actually business with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
But
Go ahead.
But sometimes you just want to do kind of like, this is just me personally. Yeah. I'm sure everybody can have a different objective behind what they want to achieve.
Yes.
But with me personally, kind of, I probably don't want to expand as probably Jack, you are looking forward. And of course, which I appreciate. And it's a lot of effort and things like that. But when it comes to the networking can be really kind of, it can be something you can sit down whole day and talk about it, like with different people.
Yes.
So I try to aim for the selective networking where I believe, I can help each other, and these are the people I want help from.
Start your private group. Start your private group and speak with only serious investors. Invite them into the group. I invite people into my group on the basis that we have other serious investors in our group. You can learn from seasoned investors, as well as you can do JV collaborations.
Mm-hmm.
So my magnet into my private group is that you can do JV collaborations with people in the group because they're all serious investors, as well as learn from serious investors or seasoned investors. Okay.
Sorry, when you say private group. Sorry, when you say private group, what do you mean by that? Sorry.
So it's not, there's no public link out there for anyone to join. So I have my public groups, but then I have one private group, which it's only for investors.
Okay.
So if you wanna touch just the cream of the network, or the more selective people in your network, start to assess people who are serious investors, gauge with them, and then invite them to your private investors group. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. This is what happened when I started, I started with with the full gear, with the full passion, and I started to network. Then I realized that, of course, I'm not trying to criticize. I'm sure everything nurtures with the passage of time.
Yeah.
But I could see I was spending a lot of time in talking to people, whole day sitting on the calls and talking to people. And at the end, kind of, don't really know that you are going to map up in any way, with that person, for example.
You gotta have a very clear strategy, Geeta. Okay. If you're focused on too many things, then your network is diluted. Okay. But remember, if you structure, I'll give you an example on PEN. Okay. There are 3 finance groups because the first one filled very quickly. I had to create a second one. The second one filled very quickly. So I created a third one. They're all based on property finance, and these are all public groups. Okay. Now, everyone is on a different journey. You're building your own business. Okay. But at the core, those 3 are just focused on property finance. Okay. Then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 networking groups. Okay. Again, all public groups, and they're all just based on pure networking, where if I can help someone, I help them. Remember, when you're helping people, don't expect anything, because when you start to expect, it's actually just natural that you will give that vibe to people, that you're only helping them on the basis that you're expecting something back. And when you give that vibe, guess what? You're not gonna do business with them. You just want to attract that business. I honestly believe to the core, when I jump on calls with people and I give them 5, 10, 15 minutes and no more, okay, I really, really do genuinely start helping people, okay, without any expectations. And most of the times, I don't do business with that person. It's who they invite into the WhatsApp group further that actually starts to do business with. Okay. So I do business with people, more of the people that I've helped, and they've invited more people. Okay. So it's not about just the people that you connect with, it's who they know as well. But the only way you're going to attract more people is when you actually genuinely want to serve. Okay. You literally, if you give vibe that you're selling, and you're only selling with, you're only serving someone with expectation, you're just giving a very strange vibe. And this vibe needs to improve. It's key. It's very, very important. You're genuinely there helping people out. And remember, you're not going to start doing deals right away. It does take a bit of time to build your network, to assess. Another thing at the core is to learn to assess people well. A lot of people struggle with that. So what do I mean by assessing people? I'm not saying judging people, but more by assessing people. Are they actually genuinely serious investors or not? Okay. Have you checked on their LinkedIn profile? Have you checked on their, the public record on Companies House? Okay. Have you checked on their personal websites and everything else that's available to check in the first place? Have you written their name on Google? Okay. You gotta learn how to assess people so you could you could start to nurture that relationship. Okay. Remember, just because you meet them, just because you have synergy, does not mean that they are ready to do business with you right now. Okay. Sometimes people come back to you months later, years later. Okay. You gotta have the patience. Okay. You gotta know how to nurture those relationships over a period of time so people can come to you. I literally had someone approaching me 5 years later to do business. When I'd approached them, given them my card, they had saved my card. 5 years later, I get a call. Okay. I know it's not easy, but if it was easy, everyone would do it, Geeta. Okay.
I think I like the networking, and I believe, of course, things have gone really structured with regards to what I wanted to achieve. But I think I want to make and I'm quite clear with what I want. But I think my journey is slightly different with just talking about, I don't want to be open up too much in the networking. It's not like I can't, it's just probably with my personal commitment, I don't think in a long term I can cope up with it. So I don't want to open to something when I know I can't deliver. So I'm trying to open to things which I can deliver. So I've started doing selective networking, and I think there's a lot of course, benefit you do get out of it. But still, there are other people in my group, and I think I'm not adding any value to it. So maybe, people will think, this is just my perception, and Geeta, I'm not sure.
Geeta, you're not going to live up to the expectations of everyone. I have 5,000+ people in my WhatsApp groups. Do you think I'm living up to the expectations of everyone? You don't need to. You just need to serve as much as you potentially can as a human, and that's all there is to it. If you struggle with networking, I'll tell you what I learned from Bill Gates. Okay, this is something I learned from Bill Gates. Bill Gates says, if you really want to get something done, let's say it's a job that's very, very difficult and it needs a lot of creativity. Okay, and he was asked, who would you give it to? He goes, I'd give it to the most laziest person. And I'll tell you why. Because lazy people are they will find the most creative way to do it in the least number of hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what are we learning from that is that if you don't want to invest hundreds and thousands of hours in networking, that's fine. Just focus on the cream. So focus on the selective few investors, bring them into your personal group, and then start nurturing those relationships. Remember, just because you're ready to sell, just because you're ready to collaborate, does not mean that the other person is ready. They may be ready in 6 months' time, a year's time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time. Okay. If you are building a long-term business, you got to focus on nurturing those relationships. And I'm talking about investors from all sorts of aspects. Let's say you're looking to grow your portfolio. Okay. You're going to need investors around you to help you with cash. Okay. The only way people will invest in you is when you nurture those relationships. They can see what is it that you're trying to do. What is it that you're aspiring to do? What is it that you're actually delivering and achieving? Are you really putting the effort in? And that's when they will say, you know what, Geeta, I will invest in your next project. Let them come to you and say, I would like to invest in your next project. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree.
It's all about pulling people rather than pushing what you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
About the way I have structured PEN, most of it is a pull. And I mean literally 99% is a pull and not a push. People come to me and say, I've got £100,000. What do you want me to do with it? Okay. This is what I want to achieve. All the time. I've had people approach me saying, I've got £4 million worth of cash sitting around. What do you think is the best strategy? A full pull situation. Okay. At that point, I was not ready with a deal. I could have just said to him, look, we've got this deal coming up. Would you like to invest? I didn't have a deal of that caliber. Okay. But what I'm saying is that you got to start to nurture relationships to a point where you're attracting people. So they pick up the phone and call you instead of you calling them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, but there's a very, very creative way of doing it. Don't jump on a call and start to invest your personal time, hours and hours on a call with someone. Don't do that. Jump on a call for 5, 10, 15 minutes to the max and no more. Okay, remember, a lot of knowledge and information people take from you is a paid service. Okay, so if they start to take more than 10 and 15 minutes, tell them very, politely, look, it's a paid service. If you'd like me to help you, I'm more than happy, but I'll charge you 200, 300 pounds an hour. Okay, you got to learn to do that. But before that, you got to learn to build enough credibility so people really do go ahead with you in the first place.
Yeah,
okay?
agree.
Does that make sense? Remember,
Yeah, sure.
look at the long-term picture, okay? Whatever you're learning here at this stage, at one point, maybe in about 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years time, whatever that might be in your journey, you can actually start to consult people and charge a lot of money. Okay, you can charge 1,000, 2,000 pounds, 5,000 pounds a day in consulting in what you're learning here. Okay, but you got to learn a way to attract people, nurture those relationships, and then go from that point. Okay, and yes, you can just work on selective few investors, but you got to learn how to assess people well. Okay, because if you're assessing people wrong, you're going to just bring people into your investors network who are not actually serious investors, and you're going to waste a lot of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. How do you filter out, Jack?
So what I tend to do is, let's say someone got in touch with me. Remember, with all these WhatsApp groups and lots of people being attracted, they want to speak with me. Okay. And so my attraction for people is that it's the network. Okay. As well as obviously the knowledge that we share. Okay. But when someone calls me or messages me, I jump on a call with them. I find out what is it that they are looking to achieve. So I ask open questions based on what is it that they're planning to achieve, where they are now, the GROW model that I mentioned in earlier videos. So G stands for goals, R stands for reality, O for opportunities, and W for will. You get them to open up and find out what is it that they are planning to achieve, and how is it that you can help them achieve their aspirations or their goals. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you repeat your question, Lavanya? Have I answered your question fully? I don't think I have.
No.
Can you repeat?
I understand there is a lot of people who mess around.
Yes.
So first of all, how do you identify that this person is a real investor?
Okay, so check their public records, check their LinkedIn profile, check their Facebook profile, and check their company's house profile.
Okay.
Okay. If you go on company's house and either write their company number or write their name, okay, and if you know their address, you can actually check on company's house their profile, how many companies the directors on, what kind of revenue they're turning over, what kind of profits, how long they've been in business, and so on and so forth. You can check a lot of things.
Okay. Yeah, from the company.
Read their LinkedIn articles.
Okay.
There is loads of things you can check.
Okay.
And again, last but not the least is writing their name on Google and go from there as well. Because if they have a strong profile, you're more likely to be able to find them everything about them.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And again, you're not going to be able to find out everything, but at least you can suss out if they're serious or not.
Yeah.
No doubt. Absolutely no doubt. In this day and age, most of the people who are serious investors, most, not all, would have a reasonably good personal brand.
Yeah.
Reasonably good. Not all of them. Some investors just want to hide behind the scenes and not just be seen by public, and that's absolutely fine. But then you can check their profile on company's house.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So any questions at this stage?
No.
Okay. So I was touching on social equity, social credibility. Okay. How can you create more engagement is a question and how can you build more social credibility? It's a question you need to ask yourself, and then start writing it down, breaking them into tasks on how you're going to work on that. Okay, I'll give you a simple example. Go ahead. Someone had a question? Sorry, I thought someone had a question. So if you go on my personal website, for example, okay, even though I don't consult anymore, at least not now, maybe at later stages I might, okay, I still have my consulting in my personal website, or my personal website still there, for people to go and check, even subscribe to my newsletter, on which we don't do a lot anyway, but it's there for people to check. Everything is available for people to check on my personal brand. Okay, and then they look at the social profile, which could be things like I spoke at Aston University, I've spoken at many other events. I spoke at one of the biggest events that I spoke with had about 350, 360 people. You can see pictures of me speaking at the event. You know, everything that you do on social media, and you don't have to be very, very active. In fact, if you look at me, I am not super active. I do post a few things here and there, but I'm not that active. I should be, but I'm not that active. So what I'm saying is, even with very limited activeness on social media, can still start to build your personal brand over a period of time and attract people that you need towards you. Okay, and that also includes people who will invest in your book launch, just so you know. Okay, because when you start to write a book, you want to get to a point where there's a major publisher who will publish it for you. Guess what? These days, the only people who get large book contracts with large publishing companies are people with the maximum followers on social media. Okay, in fact, even if you look at the entertainment world and social celebrity world, people with the most followers get more movies, more promotions, basically, promotional contracts with larger companies, people with the largest number of followers on social media, and that's your personal brand. Does that make sense? We don't have to have millions of followers, but in our space of property, how many followers do you have? How much engagement do you have? And when you're writing a book, how many publishers you're connected with? If they really like your book, would they invest in your book? Would they give you a contract? So on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions?
We're finding it interesting that you think you're not that active on social media.
No, I'm not. In fact, I should be at least 4 times more active, to be precise.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. When you start to really, really, really work on your personal brand, you'll be surprised at how many people you attract. You'll be surprised. Okay. I actually started with working on my personal brand when I was consulting at one point, and I was attracting a lot of people back then. You know, in fact, I'm attracting a lot of people even right now with PE and so on and so forth. But most of it is just personal brand. People look at the name and say, you know, who is this guy? Let me check on it. You know, they get in touch. They send me a message. They send me a text message or wherever they can find me, either on LinkedIn or Facebook or, you know, Instagram or wherever they can find me. In fact, people send me an email through PEN. They send me an email through my personal website. I, on average, get about, I would say maybe about 20 people a day connecting with me. And this is me not doing anything. Even when I don't post anything, I get about 20 people connecting with me on multiple social channels. And I think I should be doing about 4 times more. Okay. Most of what you see that has been built on purely personal brand. Okay. But a strong question that you need to be asking is, when trying to attract people, what is the hook? And that's called a marketing hook. You got to have a very strong marketing hook. When you ask someone to say, hey, join my WhatsApp group, or join my email newsletter, or join my whatever it is you want them to join, why would they join you in the first place? Okay, you got to have a very, very strong marketing hook. What did I use? When I was, in fact, the first WhatsApp group was my private investors group. The marketing hook that I actually started with was, would you like to do JV collaboration and learn from seasoned investors? That was my marketing hook. That still is my marketing hook in terms of bringing people into my investors group, the private group. Okay. And I would say, remember, before I invite anyone to that investors group, I've already checked their personal profiles. I've already assessed if they're serious investors or not. I don't just invite them for the sake of it. Okay. Because otherwise you'll invest a lot of time and not get anything out of it. Okay. But my hook for the investors group is this. But what is my other hook in terms of other groups? Okay. When I was doing networking, my hook is my tagline. So it's the P and tagline, helping property investors grow their portfolio. So the hook is as simple as, would you like to grow your portfolio? Would you like to grow your power team? Would you like to create a bigger network to help you get more deals done? Can you see? These are very simple hooks. But you got to have a very, very strong hook to invite people into your network or into your WhatsApp groups and so on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, agree.
Just a question, Jack,
Yes.
with regards to personal brand we've been talking about, I'm just asking, for example, somebody's not comfortable with the personal brand, like, personal brand, making it as like, their website as their name, or let's say, networking, taking on the basis of their lead name. If in case they use the company instead, or let's say the company name instead.
That's absolutely fine. Remember, whenever you get to a point to sell your company, please do not be surprised people don't know you beyond this business. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But in terms of like, of course, that's something could be negative part of it. But in terms of like people to connect with you or to believe on you and all that, if you don't have like your personal brand, I'm just asking, like, just for my knowledge, how much difference does it make?
Massive. Massive. Unfortunately, we live in a world where people believe in what they see. People buy books not because it's a good book, but because what they can see on the cover. People buy stuff when they kind of believe in the bigger brand, the personal brand. So the answer to your question is, unfortunately, if you don't work on your personal brand, you're more likely going to face more challenges than the ones who are working on their personal brand. Unfortunately, yes. I know people who work undercover, nothing to be seen, no personal brand. They work with a handful of investors, and that's absolutely fine. But remember, those people want to just do that, right? Just want to work with 5 or 10 investors. They want to deliver returns for them, and they want to live that life for the rest of their life. Okay, they're more likely. I'm not saying just never, but more likely never going to change their profession, never going to change the industry, never going to invest into anything else, either their time or their money. So you have the disadvantages and advantages. By all means, you don't need to work on your personal brand, but just be prepared to see the disadvantages of it as well, and the advantages of it as well. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I am completely on the advantages side. I completely believe that a personal brand plays a major. In fact, if you just look at PEN would have been not even 20% of what it is if I wasn't working on my personal brand. So 80% of what you see in PEN is actually my personal brand. Okay. And I'm saying this with humility. I'm not bragging, no ego here, just a lot of humility, but it's purely my personal brand.
Sure, but you have actually got everything under the name of PEN apart from your website, as far as I'm aware,
Yes.
unless I'm missing something. So people have connected with you on the basis of, like, of course, on the basis of probably the tag, on the basis of what value you're providing, and then got to know you individually later on. Is that like that?
No,
or is it because you've created
no,
the website as your...
No, you missed out a lot of things. Okay. So we have the YouTube channel that you see that most people subscribe to for the PEN events and trainings and the videos that I create. That's my personal channel. It's called Jack Dawhra. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There is no PEN YouTube channel. Okay. There is my personal website, and then there is all the social platforms with my personal handle, basically. So when you see, for example, Facebook, I have a personal page, and then I have a personal group as well called Secrets of Property Finance with Jack Dawhra. Okay, so I have a personal page, which is Jack Dawhra, personal group, Secrets of Property Finance with Jack Dawhra, and then I have my personal profile. So all 3 layers covered on Facebook. On LinkedIn as well, personal profile. I don't have a personal page on LinkedIn. I just have the company page. But then I have the personal group as well on LinkedIn, which is Secrets of Property Finance with Jack Dawhra. Okay, and then so there's YouTube channel, and then there is the personal website, and I think that's about it. And then obviously you have the LinkedIn and the TikTok and everything else as well, which I'm working. Sorry, Instagram and TikTok and everything else, which I'm working on slowly.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I said, what you see PEN at the moment, 80%, and I actually telling you the right figures here, is all personal branding. Okay, all the investors that I've attracted, most of them have not, in fact, even right now, if you speak with most people, they don't know much about PEN. They know a little bit, but they don't know everything about PEN. Okay, but they do know a lot about me.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so that's to answer your question. Any questions, guys?
No.
I will take you to a lot more depth of personal branding in a later session, okay? Because the rest of it, you need to work on what you have at the moment, okay? Before I can take you to the next step, okay? But let's say, I think I had Jassim and Muzzy booked at an event which was cancelled due to COVID, right? Is that correct?
Yes,
Muzzy?
Jack.
Yes. So obviously that event got cancelled, but obviously whenever these events open and whatever online events you guys are doing, and Jassim, Muzzy has already started his YouTube channel with the interview today, and then Jassim, you've started that as well. That's all your personal brand. You really need to focus if you want to attract the right kind of investors towards your personal journey of building your portfolio and your property business. That's the way to go, working on your personal brand. And remember, it's about creating deeper relationships. You are not selling anything, guys. If you just go out there and say, I'm selling, you're going to struggle. You're not selling anything. You're just serving. Change the word sales to serving in your mind, and I promise you that you will attract more people. Okay? And you're really, really genuinely serving through your personal brand as well. Okay? That does not mean you jump on a call with someone for hours. It means that you give them value for 5, 10, 15 minutes to the max. And then after that, if you really, really want more of your help, you tell them, look, that's a paid service. I'm happy to help you, but this is what I charge. Okay? Don't just jump on a call for hours thinking you're creating a personal brand. You're not. At that point, you're actually wasting your time. Okay? Nurture the relationships, but make them feel that you have your time value as well. Okay? Another thing that we did on our YouTube channel when we started out was doing interviews. Okay? So if you watch my YouTube channel, for example, there is we actually did consistently every month for a good few months interviews with people who are investors, serious investors, developers, and even a magician. And some of you know this. I interviewed a magician as well for entertainment. So you got to mix this as well when you're building your personal brand, because people don't want to just know your, like the serious side. They want to know your fun side as well. So share fun, which sometimes I struggle with, but it's always a good practice to share some fun, some personal moments here and there, and so on and so forth. But again, coming back to you, Geeta, if you don't want to work on heavily on your personal brand, that's absolutely fine, but just be prepared that it comes with a lot of disadvantages. And that does not mean that you can't build your portfolio. You still can, working with the selective investors, but just be prepared that you have the disadvantage of doing that as well. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good stuff, guys. Any questions?
Nothing at the moment. I'm good.
Mazi,
All good, all good.
Lavanya,
All good. Check.
fantastic. And we have Geeta. Daryl, any questions?
Yeah, Jack, you know, when you were talking about looking at a person's profile, like when you check it up on them on LinkedIn,
Yes.
not LinkedIn, sorry, on Company's House.
Yes.
What are you specifically looking for within Company's House?
You're checking their account submission. So what you want to check is how much revenue they did in the last year. How many companies are the directors on? And that's about it. And how many people are they partner with as well? Sometimes when you write a company number or the name, it comes with the company, but it also shows you active officers or active directors on the company. Who are they connected with? Check their profile as well.
Right.
Okay. So right. That's what you can check. And when you write someone's name on Google as well, you can check a lot of information on them as well.
Okay. Okay.
That's got to be a regular practice. If you want to assess people, if they're serious investors and you want to nurture that relationship, you got to really become, it's like a practice to check on people to make sure that they are the serious investors. And then it's a relationship that you want to nurture going forward as well.
Right. Okay.
Great stuff. Lydia, any questions? I'm not sure if Lydia is here. All right, guys. That's the end of today's session. So I'm going to stop recording. Thank you.